Am I being heard? Am I being heard? Possibly. Possibly. Am I being heard? Am I being heard? Possibly. Possibly.
Peace soul on the
Possibly.
track.
Am I being heard? Possibly.
Yes, you are being heard, sir. For the 12th time, you are being heard, John Rick.
A word? By
Yes,
who,
sir. Yes, you are being heard. You are being heard
Possibly.
by everyone listening to this right now.
Possibly.
You are being heard by that hole next door. You are being heard by the niggas who hate, and you are being heard by the people who are great. We are here live and direct with passion and purpose. You got your host, Zadi Royale.
Got your boy JRBJ, you already know.
You already know this is my co-host to the left of me, and we're doing this for us, and we're doing this for y'all too, man, because, you know, we need this entertainment and some insight. Speaking of insight,
Speak to us then.
let's get some insight on a topic at hand right now.
Who we talking about? We talking
about Senor J. Cole himself,
Jermaine?
Cole.
Okay, Jermaine.
Now,
Friday Night Lights?
yes, Mr. Friday Night Lights has been getting a lot of backlash and criticism from the women, or might I say the feminists.
Why is that?
Well, this I would say, what is it, yesterday he released this?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday?
At this moment, it's where we at, the 17th, 18th? Yeah, 18th, yeah. Since the 17th, he released some new joints.
So, what was the name of his new joint? It was Snow on the Bluff.
Snow on the Bluff. Shout
So,
out the movie, too.
Yeah, shout out to that movie. If you grew up, you know what I'm saying, in the hood, you probably, you know, crossed paths with that movie. Or if you just, you know, browsed around Netflix, you saw that movie. So, it's definitely a reference to Snow on the Bluff. But yeah, let's get to the meat and bones of this.
What's up?
So people are coming at J. Cole because he had some words for a specific lady out there.
She got a name? No.
Wow, that's pretty ironic.
She has no name, huh?
Her name is NoName.
Oh, she definitely got a name, but her name no name. I don't get it. What's up?
Hey, I mean, it's clever to some, and to some, hey, who
knows?
Who knows? But her name is NoName, and
Right.
this is what people are speculating the person he's speaking to. Now he has not confirmed that he is speaking to NoName, but he did address her in tweets.
True.
And in the song, he made references, you know, to the tone that he is not, you know, comfortable with and doesn't think is the most effective in terms of, you know, a woman speaking to him.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, keep going.
So, I do have a guest that I wanted to discuss this with, who has an opposite opinion, and you know, he accepted the invite. I put it out there for anybody to come on. You know, I had a little discussion with a young lady earlier today about this, but instead of her coming onto my podcast, I guess she was afraid that, you know, I would degrade her, or maybe you know, just find the flaws in her arguments.
That's never the case.
And this is not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do here is trying to learn from each other, have some progressional discourse,
Productive conversations.
Yes, productive conversations, and you know, just share love and light. You know what I'm saying, to situations. It's all love from this side. So anybody who's coming on to this show, we're gonna match your energy. You know, and
I agree.
and if I don't agree with you, it's not because I don't. It's not because I don't like you or saying that I don't like you. We can disagree. You know what I'm saying, and still be cordial and still be friends. You know what I'm saying, at the end of the day.
I agree.
So I just believe that you know, I want everybody who's listening to listen with an open mind, an open heart, especially whether you're on my side or his side,
or my side, I got side,
or John Rick's side.
Come on.
So we'll be having this discussion. We'll give each other enough time to talk. I also want to put a disclaimer out there. I do not know this person from a hole in the wall.
Me neither. I never even met the person, actually.
He is a friend of a friend. I've never chilled with this guy. I've never spoken to him. I spoke to him briefly for 5 minutes before this podcast to introduce myself, for him to introduce himself, and kind of go over what we're gonna talk about, and that's about it. I'll even ask him that so he can confirm that himself. Yeah, just listen with an open ear, and yeah, let's get productive with this. Let's get jiggy with it.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna call in. His name is Dave.
Okay, Dave, D-Money.
His name is Dave.
All you can be is be optimistic, hear people out,
and please don't shame anybody after I post this on any comment. If you have a difference of opinion, just either share your opinion respectfully or don't share it at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Hello.
Dave, welcome to the Remember the Name podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are y'all doing?
We doing good, bro. How you doing?
It's good, man. I was like, y'all better hurry up and call. I'm old. I'm like,
come on.
It's getting up there. I was like, it's almost 10:30.
Yes, that's a fact.
I'm sorry, Dave. I know there was a little delay. I told you 25 minutes, and it turned into probably like 55.
No, you're good. I'm not that old. I can hang.
Nah, that's what we like.
That's dope. That's dope. I just want to be respectful to you as well. Can you just give the listeners a little bit of a background of yourself, what you identify as, maybe a background, what do you do, and you know, something of that sort.
All right. Well, so my name's David. I identify as African American, cisgender, heterosexual man. My pronouns are he, his, him. I'm originally from upstate New York, Rochester, New York specifically. So it's actual upstate New York. I know a lot of New Yorkers think that like Albany is upstate, but I mean like I'm like 45 minutes from Buffalo, and like we're closer to Toronto than New York City. I've been in New York for about 4 years now. I moved here for grad school after I was teaching in Boston for a little bit, and I've been here ever since. So I've been working in financial aid. So I worked at Columbia for 2 years, and then I moved over to Barnard College. So I've just been working in financial aid, and that's mainly what I've been doing.
Thank you for that intro, and thank you for your help. You know what I'm saying, with the kids, with the community, and with our parents out there. You know, we definitely need people in positions like that to help our community. And I also respect the fact that, you know, you were able to tell me that, you know, you're comfortable enough to come up here and actually share your opinion. You know, not everybody was willing and able. So I just want to say I respect you for the work that you do outside of, you know, our conversation, and I also respect you for having this conversation with us.
Yeah, kudos, man.
Of course, it's a very important conversation. I actually just learned about it today. A friend of mine had sent me the song, and I hadn't listened. She sent it to me like yesterday or the day before, and then I hadn't listened to it until now. And then I kind of got caught up and caught up into everything that was going on. And I didn't even know he was talking about allegedly about NoName, or if he was referring to a specific person in general. But if you have any specific questions to start with, or I can start. But obviously, I want to answer your questions first and foremost.
Thank you. Sure. Just before, I want you to. I did share with the listeners that we don't know each other. We're actually just extended friends through a friend. We have never spoken to each other. Just briefly, right before this podcast. Can you please just confirm that for me?
Oh yeah, literally didn't know who either of y'all were an hour ago. I was literally in a group chat with our mutual friend, and we were talking about the song, and then he just said, "Hey, my friend is doing this podcast," and he was like, "Would y'all be down?" And I said, "Sure." And then he was like, "All right, it's tonight." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, I thought it would be like Saturday or tomorrow, because everyone's on the Juneteenth bandwagon all of a sudden." So.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was like,
that,
you know what, I can get some stuff together. I have to work tomorrow, so I can confirm that I have no idea who y'all are. I don't even know what you look like.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that, Dave. So yeah, let's get right into it. Like you said, J. Cole has a song that people are speculating is about NoName. We didn't know about that probably because, I'm saying, he didn't confirm it was about NoName. But people can make educated guesses. We have that free will.
Sure.
I want to start and say that I do want to acknowledge that, yes, there is a problem in America right now with toxic masculinity. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be had more, because we don't take a lot of accountability at times, and a lot of times, to be exact, and and a lot of us are ignorant to it. A lot of us don't know some of the toxic traits that we have, and a lot of those things are developed, through our parents, developed through our childhood. And we have, some influences that brought us to those conclusions, or those, I guess, just the way we act. It just influenced the way we are. So, what do you feel about toxic masculinity right now in America?
I mean, it's a prevalent issue. It's everywhere. Whether it's catcalling that happens in the workplace. There are virtually no spaces where, for many folk, they cannot escape the impact of toxic masculinity. And a lot of times that can happen in microaggressions. Like I said, it can be microaggressions, something someone calls someone sweetie or something like that. It can happen in terms of being catcalled, which can escalate from someone saying something to you to some form or act of violence. That's something that a lot of my women friends talk about on a regular basis, just how quickly it escalates when they don't respond to a specific guy. Or it can be something as, when I say subtle, I don't mean that the action is not bad, but when someone is touching you inappropriately, if they're just passing by, it's horrible. I'm using subtle in the sense of it not being blunt and brutal, not to diminish the actual impact of that kind of being accosted or assaulted in that way. So it's something that is very prevalent, and I feel that in particular men need to have this conversation with each other and really check each other and talk about this, because a lot of times behavior like that goes unchecked because you're not hearing it from the people in your circle. And if most of the people in your circle are doing it, chances are you don't see anything wrong with it, particularly if they're family members, friends, people you're close to, coworkers, supervisors, bosses, people in authoritative positions near you or over you. And so it's really important because it has to be addressed. I know that it seems like we're, as a nation in particular, we're juggling a lot of different forms of discrimination that need to be addressed, but they need to be addressed at the same time. And we have to do that so that we can move forward collectively. It can't just be some of us will get farther ahead and everyone else has to wait their turn. That's not a way that we're going to be able to move forward, particularly as communities.
No, I this is JR right here, but I agree. I definitely agree with you in a sense. I've even found myself, like, at some points not even kind of like thinking of the other side with certain situations. But like you said, because of the current events that happen and everything like that, is an awakening experience. It is a refreshing experience. It's an enlightening experience to see what's going on in the world right now. It's not with just minorities, but with just everyone in general, and it's kind of refreshing in a sense. But yeah, I definitely do understand the direction you are coming from when you speak on these issues. Like a lot of guys, they tend to not even realize that they're being somewhat offensive or being sexist in a certain way at times.
And I would like to add that I do agree, and I do feel like, you know what I'm saying, for some real change to happen, it starts with, you know what I'm saying, the roots of it, and that's
Oh,
and
100%.
that's the men having the conversation with themselves, and with each other, and holding each other accountable when you need to, and also being able to communicate that effectively, um, because at the end of the day we are people, right? And we all are different, and we all grow up in a different way. So we, as an educator, I come from an education background, and one of the things we're taught is that to get something, to make an impact, and to change someone's life, you have to know how to communicate with them, and know how to get that point across to them. So I feel like us as men, we definitely need to get rid of the toxic masculinity, and do away with that, and look for help. You know what I'm saying? We should look for help, and look for people to and be open to people enlightening us. And when I say enlighten, I don't say, throwing somebody under the bus, or cyber shaming them, or cyber bullying them, or you know what I mean, like having the whole crew go against this person, and can't having this cancel culture casted upon them. And while you have the right to cancel, everybody has the right to cancel or dismiss somebody, whatever. I feel like it's more effective to try to teach. So
To the lyrics, to the lyrics.
I do want to jump into the lyrics,
The
Dave, if you're
lyrics.
okay with that. Do you
Yeah,
have
I have them up.
you have them up? Okay. Um, so we can go to the first verse. So, niggas be thinking I'm deep, intelligent, fooled by my college degree. My IQ is average. There's a young lady out there, she way smarter than me. I scrolled through her timeline these wild times, and I started to read. She mad at these crackers, she mad at these capitalists, mad at these murder police. She mad at my niggas, she mad at our ignorance, she wear her heart on her sleeves. She mad at the celebrities, low key, I be thinking she talking about me. Now, I ain't no dummy to think I'm above criticism, so when I see something that's valid, I listen, but shit, it's something about the queen tone that's bothering me. Now, I want to stop it right there, okay? And just because I feel like one of the lines there is definitely something that hit a lot of nerve, for some people. But I want to point out, the first two lines. My niggas thinking I'm deep, intelligent, fool my college degree. My IG is average. There's a young lady out there, she way smarter than me. Now, J. Cole starts off by acknowledging that this perception that people have of him is skewed and is wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So he's acknowledging that, no, I am not this
Know-it-all.
holy dude. No,
Not
this
know-it-all.
holy, know-it-all type of dude. I'm just this regular dude, but I'm also intelligent and I do my homework.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take that?
So, I mean,
I guess the first
I
line,
don't
not the
wanna-
second line. I'm
so-
sorry, the first line.
So in terms of, I mean, I'm going to be repeating myself a little bit because I think there are certain things we just see throughout it. I think what we see, or what we're seeing, is that J. Cole is talking a lot about his insecurities. I took a lot of the lyrics to be him projecting his insecurities. And I think, and that's something he's done before, right? In some of his music, I haven't listened to
Yeah, he's definitely done that.
written, but he's very self-reflective, and as we'll talk about later on in the song, he mentions, I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I feel like he on one hand, he's acknowledging that he's like, I don't know everything. My college degree doesn't mean I'm an expert on everything.
Agreed.
And there's people out there, my IQ is average, and there are people out there who are smarter than me. And then he starts talking about what's allegedly NoName or this woman, and she's talking about where about her anger and her frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that he's doing that. I don't want to get ahead of too much because I'm going to talk about more of the analysis as we get more into the weeds of it.
Yeah, sure.
But I would say he's that's very J. Cole to self-reflect about his own insecurities and shortcomings and the ways in which him being famous puts him on this platform, whether he likes it or not. And I think that's something he's very self-reflective of and critical to a certain degree. And I think that's something that I applaud to a degree, because it is very easy to let fame and recognition and money go to your head.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Especially even existing as, to my knowledge, he's mixed, and being mixed on top of that and existing within the rap industry, it's very easy to let that go over his head and just start thinking he's just the best thing that's ever happened. So one of the things I've always appreciated about J. Cole, just in general, from I'm not saying he's the best rapper of all time. I don't really get into that debate, but I like that and appreciate that he is at least self-reflective about his own shortcomings.
Yes. Thank you for appreciating that, and I think we both see the same thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's definitely
100%.
self-reflecting. When I heard those first two lines, I just imagine him thinking to himself. He's like talking to himself, and he's just, he's self-reflecting. I do agree that there are, there may be some insecurities that he's, displaying in throughout the song.
Like, to be honest.
So before I have you respond or talk, Dave, really quickly, I feel like it's more effective, I guess, for us to kind of say what our stance is first,
Go through the whole
and
song,
and then whatever lyrics that we have that we want to use to reinforce our arguments, we can refer to.
Okay, I agree with that.
Just because I don't want to spend too much of Dave's time, and I also feel like there's a lot of lyrics.
Yeah, for sure.
To go through. So
you want to read it off, and then we kind of like speak on it per se.
I think everybody can, if people could hear the podcast, they can go back to the song. They could hear the song first. They'll know what lyrics we're talking about.
Snow on the Bluff by J. Cole, just to double check for you guys.
Yeah, Snow on the Bluff. All right, I was gonna let Dave go first.
I mean, so the first thing I try to do in these kind of situations is actually understand what actually happened, right?
Right.
In the ether of Twitter and songs and diss tracks or whatever, it's really it's really easy to get lost in what actually happened. So I went and I was looking for if it was NoName's tweet, and she says she's talking about, she says, poor black folk all over the country are putting their bodies on the line and protest for our collective safety, and y'all favorite top-selling rappers are not even willing to put up a tweet. And then she started talking about how their discographies talk about black plight, and and they are nowhere to be found. And so I do think there is this balance between celebrities and people on the ground, in the sense of, on one hand, yes, I don't think celebrities need to be in leadership positions in terms of the movement. I think they should be lending their support to people on the ground and all those types of things. That doesn't mean they need to be in leadership. We talk about that a lot with allies. Like, you can help and be productive and help in your own way, but that doesn't mean you have to be the one with the megaphone, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the point of her tweet. She doesn't name J. Cole anywhere. She actually wasn't really that angry. And I thought her tweet was pretty direct. Because again, on one hand, while I don't expect celebrities to be in leadership, if your wealth, your fame, your recognition, your career is is built on Black culture and Black people, then you should, in my opinion, I think you have a responsibility to be speaking out about issues that Black people are facing, because you're making your money off of us, right?
No, I get
you
that.
rely
I
on
agree.
us, and the reality is, yes, there are some people who move in silence. I think to a certain degree that is also problematic. I'll explain why in a little bit. But there are a lot of people who aren't saying anything because they have white fans to think about, and they have white company executives who are telling them, or PR folk, whoever, the gatekeepers, however you want to frame that, that you speaking out will either look negatively on the company and will affect our brand, your brand, and our bottom dollar. So we can't pretend like there are some people who aren't speaking out because simply they don't want to anger their fan base or their dollars. Like, there are people like that.
Right.
And that's something we see with celebrities, not just rappers. That's something we see with people in authoritative positions or of high regard. They do this in general. And so I do think, while, yes, again, they don't need to be in leadership positions, I do think they have a responsibility to speak out. I think we all should be speaking out about the things that we're seeing. And even for, in the situation with what we're dealing with what's going on, why aren't more rappers speaking out? Why aren't they tweeting about it? This is, they built their careers off of it. They talked about a whole range of topics, some better than others, obviously, but they're still making their careers off of Black culture and Black people. So why do you have the time and energy to reap the benefits of Black culture and Black people, but you don't have time to speak out over issues that directly affect the communities, especially when rappers stereotypically or typically position themselves as someone who keeps it real, like, I don't forget where I come from, all those types of things, like everyone loves me in my neighborhood type of situation. So, when push comes to shove, when the issues are affecting people directly, people are dying, people are losing their lives, people are being put in jail, people are being incarcerated, people are losing their livelihoods, their ability to vote, their abilities to feed their families, to even see their families.
Yeah.
Why can't you speak out? And I think that's what she was trying to address. And I think this is kind of where J. Cole started to lose me a little bit. I think at its best, you could see those lyrics as him just citing simply what this alleged person is upset about. But I think to a certain degree, J. Cole, and he would actually step into it more later on in the song, I think he started down a rabbit hole of the stereotype of the angry Black woman, where she's mad at this, she's mad at that, she's mad at me, or she's mad at people I know, she's mad at our ignorance, she's got her heart on her sleeve. I think for some they can interpret that as just, he's just describing what she's angry about. But I think in many ways that starts down the trope of the angry Black woman, if he was assuming he was speaking about NoName specifically.
So, I do think I want to say that was a great analysis, and thank you for breaking that down for us. So I do believe that J. Cole, as a celebrity, you know what I'm saying, as somebody who has power with his voice, he should speak up. Does he have to? Is he like obligated to? No.
Why not?
No. But is he expected to? Yes. And is it right? Should we expect it? I say pretty much so. You know what I'm saying? If you're making money off of us, I'm saying I agree you should speak up, and you should definitely try to affect the masses in a positive light if you can with your voice and with your actions. Now, I feel like, what I've seen out there is people trying to, label him as like a sexist, misogynist. When
his whole career,
he has a track record of showing that, I support Black women. I will make a song about how beautiful a Black woman is.
He has.
You know what I'm saying? I will try to tell my brothers
Pretty sure he's married to a black woman.
He's married to a black woman, and he tries to tell his brothers through the songs, and his brothers is us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And even his own brothers, he tells us that he will tell his own brothers, like, not to disrespect women. Women are queens, right? So I feel like, I do think he expressed some insecurity in some of his lyrics, especially, you know, seeing that she didn't say his name specifically.
Yeah, but she called out like the kind of rapper that he lays in, like his lane, Kendrick's lane. I feel like he felt like, yo, like, why is they calling us out in this situation? Even though like we do speak about these topics in songs, like with the music, the music's for awareness. Like he puts the music out for awareness. He like it's him and Kendrick especially. Like he did KOD, Kendrick did To Pimp a Butterfly. This music they released was kind of more for awareness. Like, yo, this stuff is going on. This is wrong. Like that's artists. Like they're artists at the end of the day. Like that's their way. Like not all artists are great at articulating themselves perfectly through word, and maybe making a statement. But like a lot of artists make statements through their music.
And he definitely does.
He makes statements through his music. He makes statements through the stuff that he does. He makes statements through his protests. I feel like he was unfairly judged because he's like, yo, like, why am I being called out? I might not understand the situation to the fullest like you are. I'm not as informed as you are. I'm not as intelligent as you are on the topic, but I understand what's right, and what's wrong is wrong. And I'm going to do what I can do in this situation to kind of like remedy. And I feel like I was attacked because like they said your favorite artist. I'm like, the top people are Drake. Top people are Kendrick. The top people are J. Cole.
Yeah, that's a reasonable.
Like, so that's a reasonable response, but I think, to his like feeling like, yo, like I'm out here doing what I can do. I'm telling these kids to stay off drugs with a whole album. Yeah. I made a whole album about my friend's daughter that my friend got murdered. Like I wasted a whole album on that. Like I'm out here like thinking about the people, and like I'm not trying to disrespect this lovely lady, but I'm like, yo, I feel possibly attacked. I'm not as informed as you are. I'm not a person fit for leadership like possibly you are, because you're kind of more educated on the topic. But like I'm also out here doing stuff too as well, and I felt like people were taking that like way too seriously, like putting on his name. And like that's not even a guy that he is. Like he's never shown that kind of person to where like he like that people are kind of pushing him into that lane.
So I mean, in response to that, she didn't name him specifically,
and he didn't name her specifically.
Was broad, because I think there are obviously like a lot of people in the industry. Mm-hmm. I think this was a moment where J. Cole kind of revealed one of his insecurities. Just going back down to the lyric, because I know we said we could jump around, where he, at the end of the song, he essentially admits that, he feels like I don't do enough. I think that was his insecurities coming out, and I say that because if he were someone who felt like he was doing enough, he more than likely would have just said, oh, she's not talking about me. She's talking about the people who are actually silent, right? Mm-hmm. And this is something we do linguistically when we talk about various forms of discrimination, right? If I'm talking about racism and I'm talking about white people and I say white people, I don't mean literally every single white person that lives in the United States. I'm talking about the majority of white people in the United States, mm-hmm. But am I talking about every single white person? No, because I know, as few as there are people who are trying to do the work and who mm-hmm. are putting the time and energy and money into being good allies. I think in that sense, that's what NoName was going for, because I think if you compare people who are doing something about the issue, and if you want to put J. Cole in that area, that's fine. If you want to compare the people who are doing something about the issue as opposed to the people who aren't, the list of people who aren't doing anything is probably a little bit longer.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So if J. Cole felt like he was doing enough, I don't think he would have felt like she was coming for him. He would have been like, oh, she's talking about Drake. She's not talking about me, because I'm the one. I do my stuff. And if she had named him, then that's a different story. Then we could say, okay, well, she named me, so I will then respond. But she didn't. She was I think she was broad on purpose, and I think he read into it and reacted the way that he did because he was feeling very insecure about his role, what he knows, what he doesn't know, and what he feels like he should be contributing to the conversation. So I think that was a moment where he got offended, and I would say to him, well, if that doesn't apply to you and that's not you, why are you reacting that way? Because you must feel something, you must feel in some way that speaks to you, especially with a statement that broad.
I'll say this. When you like back to referencing your top rappers, you know what I'm saying? Like when you say top rappers, you are talking about J. Cole, and you cannot leave him out of that conversation.
That list is three people.
It's three people maybe, or five.
I think
five.
It's three people when it comes to this topic point.
And NoName actually responded to J. Cole's song, you know what I'm saying? And J. Cole didn't refer to her name by name at all throughout the whole song. So it's almost like it's a double-edged sword. Like they're doing it. If you're gonna speculate this about J. Cole and say, oh, like he's showing his insecurity, now she's showing her insecurity as well.
So what was her response then? Because I haven't seen the other track or listened to the other track.
So it's called 33 Bars.
Yeah, it's a short little thing. I don't know. I just like, for me,
but that's just to the insecurity part. But J. Cole has a record of why can we not use J. Cole's track record to make an inference that he is trying to respect women and not bring them down, but actually
trying to
help
ask,
them,
like, what's going on
or
in this situation.
ask them how, what's going on. If since you're leading the way, since you are our queen, as he referred to her.
Yeah, never disrespectful in any sense of.
Know what I'm saying? Like
always with a lot of like enthusiasm, a lot of respect from the lyrics, at least sense.
Yeah.
So what I would say to that is when you are striving to address issues of social justice and inequity, you have to accept to a certain degree that even when you have a good track record, that there are going to be times where you mess up. Decolonizing your mind is very difficult work. A lot of people don't want to actually put the work into consistently pushing themselves to learn more. It's not a process that you ever finish. There are always going to be times where you mess up, you fall short. That's just the nature of it, because you can't fully detach yourself from from both the physical and mental colonization that we experience on a regular basis. I think it's okay to say I have a great track, I have a track record, but also not getting defensive and saying, okay, like I messed up here, I'm gonna learn and do better, and actually learn and do better from that. Now, for the people on Twitter, obviously you can't respond to every single person on Twitter or the court of public opinion. People are gonna drag you. That's also an inevitable portion of social media. But I think if he, rather than get defensive and start projecting his insecurities, I think if he had not done that with the song in response to the tweet, I think he probably would have saved himself a lot of, I guess, heartache, if that's the word you want to use, but a lot of unnecessary
criticism. Right? I get you, but at the end of the day, he is an artist, and that's how artists express themselves is with their craft. In another sense, are black women above criticism? Like, why is, as a black man myself, like black men, black women, they should be open to criticism. I don't care.
Well, it's so.
I'm not just saying just criticism. It's like the angry black woman argument. Like, oh, he's disrespecting the black woman. Like, why can't he speak to his fellow black woman and be like, yo, like, I feel like you're upset. I think it's society deems black woman from a long time ago for being angry, and I think that's what everyone always picks up on. But like as a people, we should be able to kind of like gauge the criticism from both sides, and I feel like that's unfair that he's been getting this criticism of calling her an angry black woman when he's like, yo, like, why are you mad at me? I'm trying to learn and see what's going on. I'm doing what I can do. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not supposed to be the person that's supposed to be leading us because I'm not the most aware. I'm not the most this or that. I can educate through my music, through my art that I know how to educate through. And I know how to express myself through. And I feel like they would be unjust to him, especially with that black woman sense. I know that's everyone's hyper black right now. They're pro black. And, like, I get it. Black women are probably the most shitted on people in society from God knows when, but like they shouldn't be open. Like I didn't think the criticism deserved the response. That's pretty much like how I stand on it. Like in a sense, like I don't think the criticism deserved the massive response that it gave. It's just him expressing himself in the way that he knows how to express himself. And like honestly,
this is the right timing.
This is the best. This is the only way he knows how to respond to himself, because I think if they had a one-on-one conversation, it'd be the exact same kind of talking, but it wouldn't be rhyming, wouldn't be like rapping in a sense. It would be just like an open conversation.
Yeah.
So I think.
So responding to what you're saying, so I think the issue when it comes to critiquing is that as a man or as men, we are living in a society where sexism is real.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It clouds our judgment. We've already agreed on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're critiquing, we have to be mindful of the ways that we critique. I do this a lot with white friends when another black person or another person of color says something that's messed up. You can't approach, and I tell them, you cannot approach that situation and just call them out in the same way that I would, right?
Gotcha.
Because the power dynamic is different, right? If I go, like, for example, are y'all familiar with Candace Owens?
Yeah, Candace Owens, yeah, we know her.
Right? She says a lot of problematic stuff. I'm not somebody I'm not going to call her a coon or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But if my white friend said, yo, what she's saying is messed up, those are white supremacist thoughts, I would say, I agree with you. And if they said to me, oh, yo, I'm calling her Uncle Tom, I would be like, what? Hold up. You can't do that. Because the power dynamic, and as a white person, when you invoke certain things, your whiteness, you can't do that, and it will never be received properly because of that, the difference in the power dynamic. So it's similar when men are attempting to critique, especially when a lot of times our viewpoints are clouded by sexism and by patriarchy and misogyny.
It's a lot of eggshells to walk on, though, man.
It is, but that's part of the work is knowing where's this critique coming from. Am I expressing that in a way where my critique isn't rooted in patriarchy, right? This is where, and unfortunately, in my experience, this is where a lot of black men start to fall off, right? I call it, Charlemagne is a really big example. I know New Yorkers love Charlemagne, but I'm going to talk about him. Charlemagne is someone who will talk to you about race, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with colorism, he gets tripped up. With sexism, he's kind of like, what? I remember he specifically did an interview with Amara La Negra, who is a dark-skinned Dominican artist, and colorism it was something that just seemed very foreign to him. And this is something that I see a lot in black men. So even when critiquing is coming from a valid place, we have to be extra mindful and extra careful that our critiques aren't rooted in patriarchy or even racial stereotypes, right? So I'm going to give you examples from some of his lyrics, right? So he starts talking about her, and he says, she strikes me as somebody blessed enough to grow up in a conscious environment with parents who know about the struggle for liberation, and in turn they provide her with a perspective and awareness of the system and unfairness that afflicts them. And the clearest understanding of what we got to do to get free, right? Mm-hmm. So there he starts making assumptions about her life, right? That she's coming from this kind of place of privilege, whether that be socioeconomically, her familial background, And so, assuming this is NoName, when you
Right.
actually do just like a couple surface level, Google searches about her, she actually grew up with her grandparents. She grew up in Bronzeville, I believe it was Bronzeville, Chicago, which is on the south side. I'm not going to stereotype the south side. I'm just telling you geographically where she's from. She grew up with her grandparents, and she moved in with her mother, in middle school. And from what I was reading, they didn't get along. And from a lot of stuff I was trying to find, it didn't talk really about any of her experience up and through high school. She was just in through a lot of the underground music scene. She worked with Chance in Chicago. So really kind of building herself up from the same places, the same underground music locations as Chance did. And so he's already kind of making these assumptions about her, assuming it's about her. He's making these assumptions about who she is and where she came from and how she came to her understanding of capitalism, white supremacy, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. He's making these assumptions about the ways in which she learned about it, as though they're from a place of privilege that people like him didn't have access to.
Wait, but how though? Like, he says, with parents that know about the struggle for liberation, that doesn't mean that you have to, that could mean that they experienced it. It doesn't have to mean that, oh, they were privileged and they got to, you know what I'm saying, and she got to reap the benefits and stuff like that. Like, I believe that could be interpreted as, well, they've been through the struggle and she went through the struggle with them, and that provided her with perspective and awareness of the system and unfairness that afflicts them.
I mean, and I see the lyrics as kind of like when you put them together, right? So the first thing is this, we had started off before. She starts off by describing what she's angry about, right? So we've established that whoever he's talking about is angry.
Yeah.
He says, she strikes me as somebody blessed enough to grow up in a conscious environment. I think people are obviously going to read that differently. I read it as, you're in some kind of space where you have access to materials or people who are investing time and energy into your understanding of the world that we live in, including the struggle for liberation, which you could argue that's some kind of affiliation with a civil rights group. To some degree, you can kind of draw that conclusion. And a perspective and awareness of the system and unfairness that afflicts them, and the clearest understanding of what we have to do to get free. And that's not saying she grew up like super wealthy, but it insinuates that she had some kind of access to materials that others didn't, especially when he starts talking about just because you woke and I'm not, that shit ain't a reason to talk like you're better than. So he sets up this woman's knowledge as from a point of advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Because
I get what you're saying.
Because you learned all these things, that makes you better than me.
I don't think necessarily like the lyrics were. I get like what you're saying, like, oh, he's like relating her as someone with advantage. I think he was just trying to say pretty much just being someone that grew up in both environments. Just saying, yo, like, this is an educated woman. This is a woman that seems like she was able to see what's really going on in society. Right. I don't think he was necessarily just deeming her.
This doesn't happen overnight. You don't get conscious.
Yeah, you don't like you learn,
is.
You get educated, stuff like that. And it's like for me growing up in New York, just growing up in the streets and everything like that. Like a lot of people I know, like they didn't have the opportunity to kind of learn like what he was saying. But like the stereotype or just the inference of like the reference itself of like, oh, you probably grew up with someone that was able to teach you it means that you were kind of growing up in a more a kind of woken environment. Like, yo, this is what's going on over here. I'm educating myself on this.
Resources.
Like, they had access to that, and I think he's kind of referring to that in a whole, not specifically the wording. Like 100%, like, oh, nah, you have parents and that showed you seem like that kind of person. He's just saying like, yo, you're intelligent, like you seem like someone showed you like, or that, or if not someone showed you, you were in the right like environment to gain that knowledge. And I feel like you're not like understanding that I'm saying that like you're coming across as someone that is not being open to criticism in a sense because of what's going on. And like everyone should be open to criticism, black, white, women, man. And at the whole time, he was kind of trying to be like, yo, like, I'm not trying to downgrade you. I'm not trying to do anything to you. I'm just saying, like, I felt kind of like attacked because, like, I am one of those top rappers that you were speaking of. I am one of those people that put out that content you were speaking of. But, like,
and you're speaking in a condescending tone.
And you're like, yo, like, where's my favorite rapper at? And I'm like, yo, like, my man J. Cole, he's out here protesting to whatever he can do. He was here during the George Floyd. He was here doing the Michael Brown protest. And, like, I get it. He's making money off of the consciousness of the black struggle. But at the same time, he's putting out the content to educate the black people. And artists are different than regular people. They put out their art to, like, express how they're going through. And a lot of those people are not very good at articulating what's really going on. Maybe we're not as educated as, like, as a black woman like yourself. Maybe we may not have had the resources like a black woman like yourself or someone else. And I feel like that's hitting me deeper than, like, you guys understand. Like, that's, like, literally, like, you're hitting me deep. And I feel like you're coming at me. That's why he said I felt like I was a snow in a bluff. Like I don't know. That's how I interpret it as, like, yo, like, I'm just trying to educate myself. I'm trying to learn. And, like, I feel like I was being attacked for something that I'm trying to be on the same page as you with. And, like...
So, as J. Cole fans, I guess a lot of this goes back to just even his reaction. Because, again, he's just responding to the tweet. Has J. Cole tweeted about Black Lives Matter? Because I'm pretty sure
J. Cole, can I say one thing? J. Cole doesn't really use social media very often. He's like one of the least. He's one of the. He's one.
I saw photos of him.
No, he's at the protest. He doesn't post these. J. Cole doesn't use social media. I've been following J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. They're the least known use of social media ever. Like, he literally tweeted, like, his guys dropped a collab album and he retweeted the one song from them like 6 months later because he doesn't go on Twitter. He doesn't go on social media. He tries to. That's why I think that's why the misconception comes from, because, like, he probably opened his social media and was like, yo, like, what the fuck, like, these supposed to be my people and, like, they coming at me for this situation, so he has to put out a response the only way he knows how. So, like, I can't fault people like him and Kendrick for not using social media, because they never do. They usually drop music and let that shit ride out, and then they move on. They go to this protest, they go to that little thing, and they move on. So I can't really judge those artists specifically from social media activity, because they're never present in social media. So it's, like, unfair in that sense, like, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I get that. I guess so two things, and I'm going to get into a larger point. So I guess this goes back to NoName's original tweet again, where she says these rappers won't even put up a tweet. I think most people know that J. Cole goes to these protests. There are photos of him where he was at, I think it was Eric Gardner's protest, and then there were photos of him at George Floyd. So again, I think this goes back to J. Cole making an assumption about who NoName was talking about, because I think even for someone who doesn't use social media, he is a celebrity, and therefore people know, or take photos of him at least, to know of, like, what he talks about in his lyrics, and that he's at these protests. So my first thing is, I think, and again, I think this is him projecting his insecurities again, he reacted and made a song about a tweet that just wasn't about him. And I think that's part of a larger issue with him. But I think the main thing that he misses in this song is that whether he's intentionally or not, like I said, he kind of stumbles into kind of talking about why the black woman is angry. He makes assumptions, to a degree, he's making assumptions about her life in some form, because, like, you know, he doesn't actually know her life. There's actually not a lot about her on the internet, just, like, in general about her upbringing. But I think the context that he's missing, as well as the context that a lot of black men are missing, is that black women, black queer and trans folk are at the intersections of multiple marginalized identities in a way that cisgender heterosexual black men are not. And
yeah, I get that.
I know. And as we're in this moment where everyone is protesting for George Floyd, there are black women, black queer and trans folk who are being murdered, for whom there is no outrage in particular, right? And the reality is, even as these groups are at the forefront of Black Lives Matter and different organizations to address police brutality that affects Black men like myself and like George Floyd, the same energy, whether time, energy, money, whatever, what have you, is not shown proportionally to Black women, Black queer, and Black trans folk. It's just not. Full stop. We have to be very honest about that, just like as a community. And so what the frustration we're seeing is, that's what NoName's talking about. She's talking about how these rappers who have built their careers off Black people, Black culture, what have you, not only, first of all, they sure as hell aren't tweeting for Black women, Black queer, and trans folk, but even when their own Black, cisgender, heterosexual men are being murdered and there are massive uprisings, they won't even tweet about it, excluding J. Cole. They won't even tweet about it. So the context that Black men miss often is that there, on one hand, is just the crux of inequity that we are facing, and the outrage, or rather internal rage, of knowing that the same people that they're marching for would not march for them. So it's this double-edged sort of, I should say something. And when you speak to a lot of Black women, Black queer, and trans folk, they will tell you, I feel conflicted because I want to march for this person who died, you know, because they shouldn't have died that way.
Right. I agree.
I know all y'all out here wouldn't march if I got killed. And so that frustration, we see it boiling over because even in the midst of these protests, there are Black men who are exuding sexism on the internet. I see it. They are exuding homophobia and transphobia, even in these moments where these folk are on the front line.
Facts.
And having that, I'll use slap in the face for lack of a better analogy, having that occur, and then J. Cole, innocently or not, I'm not going to argue his intent, I'll just talk about his impact, essentially kind of say, hey, you need to slow down and be patient. I'm not saying that's what he intended to say, but that's kind of the underlying theme that kind of came out, that jumped out at me.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
It comes off in a way that compounds the anger because of everything else that's happening, and then being told, basically, hey, chill out, I'm trying.
No, I understand. But you also got to look at the messenger, too, man. I think the messenger is very important of who's messaging it, and, the way he did it wasn't, overwhelming in a sense. From just me just following J. Cole, you kind of know, where he stands on situations. So, at the end of the day, I do think you should give him somewhat a benefit of the doubt. When it pertains to the Black woman aspect, I don't know where he stands on any of the other aspects, in a sense. But I will say one thing. The first step, there's always steps to improvement, and the first step to any kind of improvement, as bad as it sounds, because society, like you said, is very sexist, is going to focus much on the Black man, because the Black man was probably the most marginalized or the most critiqued person, because Emmett Till is a big person. They murdered this man for whistling at a white woman. So the Black man struggle is the most dangerous out of all the minority people. So at the end of the day, you kind of got
which one is which,
nothing's more important. By the end of the day, the Black man struggle is the biggest struggle, and obviously that represents the whole community itself. But there is bias. There is a lot of gender bias, and I get that towards women. A lot of women are not representative because they have their own suffrage. And like the data shows, Black women are probably the most neglected group of people in the country, and they're the most loyal group in the country as well. And it sucks, but at the same time, me personally, just knowing the situation, I've seen J. Cole's track record, and I feel like I would give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's just coming from a perspective, and I get what you're saying, that it sounds insensitive, but at the end of the day, as a people, we have to give some of our people the benefit of the doubt, that they are coming from a good place, because the way they've been showing us previously that they have been supporting and they have been this. He just felt like possibly he was attacked because he's the line, like I said, the main line is straight out your favorite rapper. That's only going to talk about two people in the rap game. It's either going to be J. Cole or going to be Kendrick Lamar when it pertains to be conscious rap or conscious art in the rap culture. So he was like, yo, Like, what do you want me to kind of do? Like, I'm doing what I can do. I'm not probably the greatest person to express myself, so I can express myself in the art. And maybe the art is an open conversation, and maybe like that's a good way to have an open conversation between man and woman, especially black man, black woman, black man's lives, black woman's life, black trans lives, black gay lives. Like maybe that's the best way to communicate when it comes to these artists, because these artists only know how to communicate through music.
Yeah, but
Like, so that's, I don't know. Maybe that's the best way for them to have an open conversation. Like, yo, I felt like I was attacked. She comes back with a song like, yo, check this out. Like, I felt like this was going on. And I feel like that might be a healthy dialogue where people might have pushed that to the wrong sense.
no, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I feel like
I feel like a talk.
that might be a healthy dialogue in artistic ways, that because I'm not an artist, they artists. They know how to express themselves artistically.
And I feel like with J. Cole, when you just think about just all right, so his intent, all right, we can't really argue about his intent because we are not him, right?
Exactly. We
But
don't know.
all we could do is make, just educated guesses.
Inferences, yeah.
Inferences. Now, he's trying to be as respectful as possible. You know what I'm saying? There's no more, like, he's trying to be very respectful, and he's trying to, and I get it. You want to say, oh, he's assuming, he's how she grew up and stuff like that, but the proof is in the pudding of how she is with everyone. You know what I'm saying? How she's leading the way, how she's being the queen, how she's saying, how he's saying, just because you woke and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? He's already displaying, like, look, you're woke. You know what I'm saying? You have something that I don't know about yet, right? But the way you're talking to me is condescending, right? And it feels like you're attacking me, right? And and mind you, I've seen a post before I even heard about this record. I've seen a post from somebody saying, yo, where's J. Cole at? On my social media. There were memes about J. Cole not being outspoken.
Kendrick too.
Know what I'm saying? So it might not even be about her. You know what I'm saying? It might just be responding to what people are sharing. You know what I mean? Through the media. And the media is it's crazy. The media is very evil, I feel like. And this is something, and it's very manipulative.
So just just to address, because there was a lot there. So typically I'm not going to get into kind of the oppression Olympics, but what in terms of when we're understanding marginalization, we have to understand that across race, gender, and sexuality and ability, there are marginalized groups.
Mm-hmm.
Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, awesome. And so as you compound those identities, the marginalized identities, you're going to find that the most marginalized among us are those who hold more marginalized identities. So in particular, for Black trans women, they are experiencing a nexus of oppression along racial, gender, and possibly sexuality and ability lines in ways that someone like myself is not experiencing.
Right.
So when we say Black men are the most oppressed, that's actually not true, and you need to be more specific. But as it pertains to just the types of violence and things that are happening to Black trans women, they are experiencing more marginalization because they hold more of those marginalized identities. So while the most prominent violence that we see is towards cisgender heterosexual Black men, that does not mean that only means that we aren't hearing about the other violence because we just don't talk about it. In fact, a lot of it we condone within different community circles, and we just never talk about it for decades. So if we barely are talking about Black trans women who are being murdered in 2020 when Emmett Till was killed, you can imagine we probably will never hear about it unless someone really digs into the research about it. So I just think that's something I had to push back on that, because I think what we really need to do is put the work into understanding other Black experiences and why we need to learn, I would argue, faster, because a lot of Black men think in the same ways as J. Cole in a more malicious way, right? So even in the midst, like I was saying, in the midst of this protest, we have Black men who are exuding sexism, right? Even as Black women are on the front lines, they are saying sexist things. And a lot of times they'll say, not J. Cole, but they'll say, well, we'll deal with sexism and transphobia and homophobia. We'll get to those things once race is covered. But
this is very new, isn't it? But this is like, it's not new, like what's happening to these groups, but how it's being broadcast in the mainstream and reaching everybody now at a different level, and groups really rallying and protesting and stuff. Like, this is new, so I feel like it's unfair to expect J. Cole to know how to go about this and really lead the way or making an effective change. Like, this is a brand new idea, you know what I'm saying, that's really being pushed, you know what I'm saying, by a lot of people, you know, and I feel like by him saying, I want to learn, you know what I'm saying, just don't degrade the people that are on your side. He's saying, I'm on your side, but don't degrade, don't talk down on me, because I'm trying to learn from you. So how you gonna lead? How are you gonna criticize me but not come with a lesson afterwards?
So my response to that would be, in the same ways that white people say, hey, I just learned about racism. Why are you yelling at me, right? A lot of times we tell them, look, this shit been going on a long time.
That's true.
You got to do some learning on your own. I'll give you maybe a couple things, but we got places to go, and there are other things that we need to be about, because we need to focus on our civil rights being intact, as opposed to me sitting you down and educating you on every single
and
thing.
This is assuming that he doesn't do this off record.
I'm just saying, I'm responding to the idea of, like, oh, like when someone doesn't know what you tell them. To a certain degree, we tell them you need to learn on your own. And rather than, in response to the tweet, and I get it, he's an artist, but he's also just a thinking person, rather than spend the time writing the critiquing song, did he say, or did he ever think to himself, how can I, why is she angry? Why is she coming at me?
I think he addressed that.
Let me actually ask people. Let me actually, like, sit down and, like, ask other people, yo, why do you think she's coming at, I think he assumed it, but why is she coming for somebody like me, right? Because white liberals kind of get like that. They're like, oh my God, like, why are you attacking me? I'm like, because that don't mean you being on my side, quote unquote, doesn't mean you're never going to mess up or step in it.
True.
You are, and I'm going to call you out on it because you should know better.
That's the best way to learn.
Think of it as like a learning moment, right?
Yeah, best way to learn.
And so for me, and I don't know what J. Cole does with his spare time. I'm not going to pretend to know, but for me, my thing is, okay, if you're someone who feels like they don't know enough, because again, he shows the insecurity. He says, my IQ is average, my college degree doesn't do shit for me. I don't do enough. I feel fake. I feel like my money has given me access to things that other Black people don't have access to, and that keeps me from feeling. He shows that he feels disconnected, and that's a level of insecurity that.
Or just aware of what's going on, or just aware of his surroundings.
But just being aware, but showing that he thinks about it as an issue that he needs to deal with. I'm not using insecurity necessarily in like the detrimental sense, but in the sense of he feels disconnected from people that he's trying to stand up for. And so my response to that is, then rather than write songs critiquing a Black woman, presumably, who is calling out other artists who aren't doing what they should be doing or what they have a responsibility to do, and ask yourself, or even put the work into understanding, if she is angry, why is she angry? Because when you actually understand the experience that we experience as Black men, and then you compound that with being a woman, being queer, or being trans, or some combination of those, you understand, wow, you must be really fucking outraged right now because you're experiencing all of these things at the same time. When white people go, Dave, well, why are you so angry? I'm sitting here like, first of all, you gotta be shitting me. Second of all, if I told you everything we experience on a regular basis, you'd be angry too.
Nah, I don't think he's saying why you're so angry though.
In the sense of, I'm using it as an example, but in the sense of, because he's saying this is how she's reacting, and then why is she coming at me like this? And rather than write the track about contemplating why she's coming at me, take that time and really, not in the public sphere, and really just take that time to do, more research and really getting out of his bubble, because clearly he's missing something, right? And when I say getting out of his bubble, I mean, who do you hang out with? Do you just hang out with people who look like you and sound like you and talk like you? Do you hang out with people, who have other experiences, so you understand, yeah, that's why they're mad. I'd be pissed too, or even more upset than I already am. You know what I mean? Like, there are other ways. He can partner with organizations. He can read books. He has the money and resources to learn. And I'm not sure what he's doing with them. I hope he's putting the work in. But he and other black men need to put more work into understanding those experiences. But and a lot of times that comes from just literally talking with people who don't look like you, or experiencing more than you do.
But my last question: you think that black women are above criticism? They're above responding to maybe if a black say a black man felt kind of offended, not even just upset, but just kind of why? I felt like he was kind of being attacked. And he responded to it. Or maybe when is
the right time to
how can they have that
talk
conversation?
About this? Because they're going to be oppressed for long, and hopefully not for as long as I think.
It's very hard for black men to have this
very hard for those trans groups and the LGBTQ community and all of those groups.
I'm just talking about women.
You know what I'm saying? And women. You know what I'm saying?
Are they above criticism? Are they above asking questions, stuff like that? I think that's where it really people felt like J. Cole was attacking women, attacking the other view, but at the same time maybe he was just trying to inquire, which I felt like he was trying to inquire, how's the best way to go about this? I feel like I'm being attacked. I feel like I'm being, as well as marginalized, and I'm on your side pretty much. I think he was saying he's I'm on your side. I'm trying to support you, what y'all doing. But I feel you kind of you instead of you're the educated one and you're the one showing me, instead of showing me, you're kind of attacking and why is he not?
When is that effective?
What's
for us?
How is he gonna? How is
not
what's the best way for him to respond?
Not the real pressures that you know what I'm saying. Wow, there are black men that oppress.
Yeah.
But instead of we're black first, right? Mm-hmm. Black first.
We're black first. That's what.
And that's the commonality.
That's what everyone looks at before anything else. Oh, he black. Before anything else, for sexual preference, before anything else, they're black.
But at the same time, it's not even the idea of putting your identities, I can't remember the word, putting your identities
how you look
in an order of importance. That's not a luxury that a lot of people have.
No, for sure.
Because they're experiencing them at the same time. So even when you say we're black first,
black first,
for people that really depends on the situation, because when you're, depending on the scenario that you're in, right? If you're speaking to a black woman, or if I'm speaking to, I don't know y'all's ethnic backgrounds. If I'm speaking to a black woman, yes, we're both black in that scenario, but I'm also a guy and she is a woman.
So she had different experience.
There is an inherent power dynamic and an influence of patriarchy and a history of sexism as well as stereotyping that is occurring within that conversation. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that you can't critique? No. Say, for example, Candace Owens. I have a lot to say about Candace Owens, but I tread lightly about how I say those things, and I make sure I understand that I am not invoking or using sexism and stereotypes that come from it as a way to denigrate her positions. And I think a lot of times black men don't go out of their way to learn how to try to remove that power dynamic element from their speech and their ideas and their conceptions, before they start talking. And so a lot of times their questions even actually just reinforce sexism, right? So for example, if you felt like NoName, let's just say like really just like laid it into J. Cole, and your first question was, yo, why are you so angry all the time, right? You've already invoked, even if the critique was, let's say, the critique was appropriate, you're already, as a guy, invoking a sexist trope that is you've initiated it, right? Like, does that make sense?
No, in that situation, yeah, for sure.
So like and this gets back into putting the work into really decolonizing your mind beyond race. And I feel like J. Cole put time into stereotyping a little bit, making some assumptions, assuming that tweet was meant for him, even though I think publicly people know that he does different things. I think he put his time and energy into something else that was not. I would call it.
No, I understand.
Rather than
making a response instead of something else.
Even in terms of like talking to like other, and like he's got money and resources.
But she also did the same thing though. She also put time. No, my fault. I didn't mean to cut you off. But she also put her same time and effort into responding to those individuals, artists, your favorite artists that aren't doing those things. So I think it's somewhat similar, goes similar ways, like in a sense, like he actually said she, but she specifically said in her little thing, your favorite artist. So she put her time also into kind of that sense, but like, and I feel like we're not critiquing in the same way. And
when I say time and effort,
yeah,
NoName doesn't need to be educated on the experiences of women in sexism, for example.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because that's what I mean.
She's experiencing
it. J. Cole is not experiencing sexism in the same ways, or at all, that NoName is, right? So, like, it's like if I tell a white person, yo, you need to learn about race. And if they said to me, well, Dave, you need to learn about race, I would look at them and say, well, I'll have you know, I've been black for quite some time, and I've learned a lot of things that you will literally never experience firsthand. So when I talk about work, I'm talking about time and effort into understanding the experiences of other marginalized groups within and even within the black community. I'm not talking about separate. I'm talking about black women, black queer, and black trans folk, like understanding their experiences and how the compounding of that marginalization creates an atmosphere where there's already palpable anger, but then they're being gaslit even more by black men who are trafficking in homophobia, transphobia, sexism, and then being gaslit and told, you're not experiencing that. Like, that's not real. Does that make sense? So, for me, when I say putting the work in, I mean, J. Cole, like, man, I even made a list. J. Cole, let me see, where's my list? He could, he could be learning about, he could be talking with, like, local organizations who specifically work with other marginalized groups. He could be talking about, reading different research studies on how the ways in which compounding discrimination along identities impacts people, you know, really connecting what he's hearing on the ground from everyday people with a lot of research is showing, right? So that we can connect individual anecdotal experiences to bigger and larger, you know, things that we're experiencing structurally, and even like across the United States, and how those different forms of oppression present themselves in communities of color, in the black community. Like, how does sexism and homophobia present itself in the black community, right? Like, actually taking that time to do the work and learning how people are experiencing them so that he can decolonize his mind. And then if he wants to go make music that teaches other black men, like, yo, this is your sexism right here. I'm telling you, when you say X, Y, and Z, when you say this shit, when you say this is homophobia, when you do this, that's transphobic. Like, stop killing black trans folk. You shouldn't be killing them, period, but they're also other black people. So how do you say Black Lives Matter and then kill black trans folk? They're black.
No, I agree.
Does that make
I
sense?
agree on that.
But
Like-
this is also, you know, I feel like we also have to give, you know, our artists some time. You know what I'm saying, and some this, like I said, this is new. I feel like, and I feel like it's wrong for us to assume that he's not doing his homework outside of his music and anything he's been putting out or being vocal about. And I feel like if he chose this time to release something like this, yeah, it might have been bad timing, right? It might have been bad timing, but when is the right timing? You know, when can he actually say something about it and not be criticized like, know what I'm saying, like, oh, do your homework, know what I'm saying? Because whether he's doing his homework behind the scenes or not, you're still going to say that. Know what I'm saying? I believe that he's not this disconnected for him not to know I'm saying, that people are these groups are getting killed. Jesse Smollett did what he did, and although it was, I'm saying, it didn't go the way that people expected, it still brought light to the situation. You know, so it's like, I don't feel J. Cole is disconnected crazy, but I feel like it's also,
It's a
you know what I'm saying,
hyper time for aggression.
yeah, hyper aggression. You know, it's I understand you're frustrated, black woman. I understand that, but I understand that by him saying that, it falls into that stereotypical lens. And I'm saying, to where it's like, oh, she's the angry black woman, but I feel like that's the media skewing that and pushing that narrative, because he's trying to tiptoe around it. He knows it's a very, for him to acknowledge that it's a sensitive topic, he's acknowledging that, yo, I've done my homework and I know you guys are very, you know, y'all hyper, you know, angry right now. Y'all sensitive about this. I don't want to step on your toes. I'm on your side. Please don't attack me. You know what I'm saying? Like, teach me. I'm not one of these dumb dudes that are just talking out their ass. No, I know this is sensitive. I just don't know enough. And I could be doing research and still not understand why, because I won't understand fully what they experience, like you said. You know what I'm saying? I don't, you know, and could he put some energy into talking about those groups in the future?
I think he will.
But I think he definitely will. Know what I'm saying? But that also lies within that crosses lines with religion. You know what I'm saying? So you have religion that comes into play. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that religion that makes a black life any less by your orientation or anything like that. But there's some people that can say that will say Black Lives Matter, but I don't want to speak about anything that crosses my religion. You know what I'm saying, or my beliefs. You know, so
that's a whole nother conversation.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation.
So.
But so I guess what I would say to that is, again, with J. Cole, my point with J. Cole is, I don't think he is an inherently bad person. I
think he's horrible. He's a fucking dickhead.
I don't think his intention was to be malicious or step into any of the things that
I agree.
But unfortunately, he did, and I think this can be a learning moment.
Subconsciously, he did.
Where he and hopefully other black men can say, okay, I saw how J. Cole stepped in it. Let me actually kind of learn about where that person's coming from. Because in my experience, as I've grown and worked and talked with different people, I understand why NoName is calling people out. Because there are people who need to be called out. And that's why when you start understanding what other people experience, both on the individual and at the 10,000 foot, you know, kind of data looking level, when you start understanding where those two connect for people's everyday experiences, you start understanding, just like with black people, oh, I understand why black folk are angry, because I know what they experience on an everyday basis, and I understand what we've experienced for the last 400 years, right? And like understanding, putting that all together. Black men have to do that same work when it comes to other marginalized communities, and a lot of us aren't. And whether that's because you're a good person who just doesn't know, or you're someone who's completely malicious, we are still ignorant in those ways, and we have to put less work into writing songs about, hey, why are you so angry? Don't talk down to me, and understanding where does that anger, if you do perceive it as anger, where does that anger come from? More likely than, and then as you learn, you will probably figure out, oh, I see why they're angry. Because for every J. Cole, out of 10 people, let's just say, we'll break it down, black men are 10 people. For every J. Cole, there are 7. Give me somebody really messed up. There's some misogynistic douchebag who literally gaslights and is just a terrible human being. So even if J. Cole is that one exception, and he's just someone who hasn't put that work in, he is the exception, not the rule. And so we can't expect other marginalized groups to treat him as such, because they are encountering both online and in person the other 9 people who are shitheads. And it's like similar with white people. I've met very well-meaning white folk. That's fine. You're not the person I encounter on an everyday basis. So don't, especially at first when you say something ignorant, don't expect me to treat you as the exception when the rule is this is how I survive. Because it's about survival. And black men need to put more time into understanding the people in their community and the ways in which we are perpetuating additional forms of discrimination and oppression, rather than writing songs to basically say, hey, don't be mad, I don't know, but am I also putting the work into actually knowing? Not J. Cole, but for people where it's like, oh, I just didn't know. Well, did you try? Well, not really.
No, I understand that aspect.
Because then you get frustrated, because when a white person comes to me and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, do you actually know why what you did was wrong? No. Do you have any black friends? 1. Okay. Have you done any research? No. You read any books? No. You watched any movies? No. You done any research? No. You read any articles? No. Have you done anything to actually educate
they need
yourself
to do their
beyond
homework.
I don't know? And when the answer isn't yes,
that's scary.
Breeds frustration.
Yeah,
that's where it's coming from, because it's black men constantly saying for really decades now, I don't know. And it's like, well, when are y'all gonna figure it out? Because we can't expect that for marginalized groups to look at people of privilege and keep, like we do with white folks, and keep going, oh, we'll wait for you. Oh, we'll wait for you. As you're seeing now, people are like, we're done waiting. We are literally done waiting. And we'll burn it down if we have to, in some cases. I'm not going to get into that, but just the frustration itself. And then what's even worse, again, is when you're gaslit by that group who goes, I just never knew you guys were so angry. And it's just like, well, we tried talking to y'all nice about it, and y'all just
ignored it.
Y'all just ignored it, and now the stuff's burning down. Everyone's like, oh, what are we going to do? And it's like, well, we tried. We tried it your way. And now that people are angry and frustrated, that's when people like J. Cole, despite his well-intentions, are like, wait, I don't
right, so you feel like the other 9 people are going to be like, oh, we can do that too. And we can be like, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, it kind of puts a negative kind of action out there for people to kind of be influenced by, and especially for the people that don't, you know what I'm saying, who don't do their homework and are not attentive and not trying to understand. Like, they're just going, they think it's okay. They think it's okay, and it's not okay.
Right.
We need to learn about it. We need to support, you know what I'm saying, women as well, and be more attentive of what we say. But I also agree that we have to understand that sometimes there's people should kind of use as a teaching moment. I understand you pick and choose and assess about, what I'm saying, that person, if you know enough information about them, what their position is, how ignorant they are. You know what I'm saying? Because the angry tactic, or not the tactic, I don't want to say that sounds insensitive, but the being angry is understandable, but the attacking is what's the problem sometimes. And yes, that definitely does have to happen sometimes when you're just not being heard. But with some people who are actually just are kind of good-hearted people, you know what I'm saying? Like we've said, J. Cole, we think he's a pretty nice guy or whatever. Like, They have to. So some of them just need some teaching and some softness and somebody to just, help them, guide them and help them along the way. Like we all have, like, as men, heterosexual men. You know what I'm saying? Throughout history and just our slave masters. Just imagine how traumatic that is to be, screamed at and told and being criticized and growing up in that light. You know what I'm saying? So that's just gonna hit back to our trauma as well, and it's gonna trigger something for us. And for some it may not, but I feel like for the majority it can't. And we gotta be sensitive to that.
And trauma is definitely a portion of it, but it's also privilege to a degree. Mm-hmm. It's knowing that as a cisgender heterosexual man, I never have to know, unless I choose to. Yeah. I don't have to know the realities of being a black woman or a black queer or trans person. I don't have to know your reality. It's privilege. Right. You saying I don't know shows that that's not an experience you share, because if you did, you have to know, because otherwise it probably would get you hurt, injured, or killed. Right?
Wow.
We say this with white people and the police. Oh, I've had white friends tell me, oh yeah, this is what I said to the police when I was like younger, and I cringe because I'm sitting here like, ugh, like I would probably be murdered if I said that.
Yeah.
Like if I cursed at a cop, they probably would play the xylophone on my teeth. Right? So like that's the reality of the situation. So when it's the privilege, that those blinders that keep us from seeing, and even the ways in which we participate in it. There was just a black trans woman who was beaten by like 20 or 30 people. I'm not sure where that specifically was, but there were two other black trans women, Dominique Bells and Rhea Hilton, I believe were their names.
Prayers for them and their family.
Who were killed in Ohio. And so we have to do better in terms of, Rhea Milton, we have to do better in terms of taking those blinders off and really understanding those experiences before we start asking questions. Like really, really do your research before you go public with a song. Yeah. Asking questions and not doing any research. And J. Cole has the time and resources to do it. And am I saying he's a bad person? No. Am I saying his intent was to hurt somebody's feeling? No. What I'm saying is J. Cole needs to put the work in. Otherwise, stay out of the arena, because
I think he did.
Aren't the only people who are in the midst of oppression, and we need to move forward together. And if he's not willing to do the work, then he's not as great of an activist as he thinks he is.
No, I got you.
In that sense, he's only really out for other black men, which is also a problem, because that's actually something we see in the black community many times, where the most privileged among us, black men, heterosexual cisgender black men, are like, oh, we'll get to all these other things after we deal with race, which basically means once you're good, everybody else can get theirs. And that mentality is very prevalent. And I think J. Cole is someone who is maybe well-intentioned, needs to do that work. And then, like the conversation we're having, then go back and start talking to other members of your community and explain that to them. Because a lot of them aren't listening to other black folk of marginalized identities. They're just not, whether that's well-intentioned or malicious. They're not. So as men, let's get together. Let's talk. That's why I'm on here at almost midnight, because this is an important conversation that needs to be had, and other marginalized groups can't do all the work. We have to sit down as people of privilege to some degree within our gender and sexuality. We need to sit down and have this conversation with us, so that when we're talking with friends or we hear somebody say something, we go, don't do that. Or if they go, hey, why did so-and-so say that? You can be like, oh, I actually know. Pick up your phone and Google stuff, read articles, understand people's experiences. There are a wealth of resources that we have access to, but J. Cole throwing his shoulders up, again, well-intentioned maybe, but him throwing his hands up and being like, I don't know, is the equivalent of a white person going, well, I don't know, because of the privilege. And it's a very tough process to keep going here, where you have to keep explaining it, especially when you have multiple identities and you have to explain each of them to someone else who should know better as being a black person, but doesn't. And that's something. It's a very tough process, and so like yes, it builds anger, it builds outrage, and people get to the point where it's like, yo, J. Cole, do your fucking research, man.
No,
like,
we got you.
You tripped. Although you tripped into stereotypes and slight misogyny and like all that kind of stuff, like I said, like do your research, man. Like we're all gonna step in it, but actually like learn from this and do better and tell other people and make tracks that explain this to other black men so that they know, because they need to know. So I think I'm not saying he's a bad person. He just needs to do better.
I got you. It was good conversation we had.
Yo, that's a fact, man. Dave, you hit that. You definitely hit that. Ending point right on the head. So I thank you for that. We definitely. I appreciate the time. It was productive. I feel like we definitely were able to, talk about both sides of the spectrum and understand. I definitely, gained some understanding from you. So I thank you for your position. I definitely do think we need to do more homework, and do more and support more. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. I'm sorry we kept you until midnight. I know you old and shit, but you said you could hang, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, we appreciate
and
the
you
conversation.
Did.
Once I get hype, I'm hype.
Nah, for sure.
Like, let's do this. But I'm more than welcome to come back if y'all want to ever have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Another conversation. Like I said, it's important work. I spend a lot of time trolling online. I'm usually under Fox News articles going at it with people. So
okay.
This was a very pleasant conversation.
No, for sure.
What I usually encounter.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're very educated.
So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
No, we appreciate you coming on. For sure.
Thank you for being our guest, man. You have a great night, man. Thank you for coming on the Remember the Name podcast.
Hey, no problem, man. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. We appreciate you.
Good night.
No problem.
So, what's your closing statement? Do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, look, I definitely agree. We need to do our homework. We need to support. We need to support more. But we also, as and I'm not just specifically targeting women. While this is, this is kind of talking to women. But I think as people, I agree with J. Cole that we need to do a homework on how to communicate with people how to have interpersonal skills, trauma-informed care, and to know what triggers people, how to get the message best across to people, because not everybody reacts to the outrage the same.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's different when you outrage towards the police brutality. You know what I'm saying? It's different because it's not something you're born with. You know what I mean? Like, this is actually something like, no, this is a job you get. But this is something that you're born with. You're black. You know what I'm saying? Or you're part of the LGBTQ community. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. We have to, it's brand new, and we have to, be informative more than outraged.
Yeah.
In any sense. And this is in any sense. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Even with police brutality, if there's people that are acting like Karens and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can cancel them if they're insisting on just being ignorant after you inform them.
But yeah, you should be open for informing, dialogue. I also think that we shouldn't jump to conclusions about every single person as well. Like I said before, like, the track record definitely helps a lot. And, like, the stuff that J. Cole was saying personally in the songs, I feel like he's like, yo, like, I want to be educated. I want to be informed. Please inform me. Please educate me. Don't just straight call me out for being somewhat of ignorant. Like, yo, just show me the right path, and I will follow that because you're strong. You're a strong black woman. Like, don't come across as, like, someone that's going to be angry at me or bitter at me. I don't think he was generalizing black women in general, but I can see how it could be interpreted like that. But at the same time, the people that are open for criticism, like J. Cole said he was, people that are open for conversation, the open for education, I think we should educate those people. I think we should converse with those people. I think those are the people that we should align ourselves with, because those are people that are going to be open for change, open for all the stuff that's going on. And I just think that we should never look past that. We should always be like, yo, this person's really trying to do better, and like let's celebrate that. Let's embrace that. And he admitted, it's like, yo, I don't know it all. I'm not the smartest. Like, you the person that I'm going to come to. So don't come at me like, yo, don't, like, he felt attacked personally. And at the end of the day, we can't tell, just like we can't tell gay, lesbian, LGBTQT, we can't tell women, we can't tell no one how to react to certain statements.
Right.
You can't tell this gentleman how to react to another public person in the industry, of like what they said, like how he might have felt, like, yo, damn, like maybe he felt some type of way. So we can never tell people how to react to certain situations. All we can do is be open, optimistic, and we can learn from our mistakes. And I feel like that's what we gotta do as a people, especially going forward in 2020, man.
Man, take it easy on my man's J. Cole, because
let him rock. He's
when
there for the people.
Yo, he called out Kanye too. Like, this is what he does, bro. Like, he called out Kanye during this Trump shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, and he is talking about NoName. Like, this is her turn. You know what I mean? Like, he's not on some I'm just talking to women in my songs either. So I don't label him a sexist. And he might have in a misogynist line here or there, just because, you know what I'm saying, we have toxic ways. I'm not denying any of us are toxic in some ways or have toxic thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Because we all do. You know what I mean? And he might slip up. But in this sense, I think it's a reach.
Yeah, I think it's a reach as well.
Because when you talk about what she's mad at, it's like, how you gonna talk about what she's mad at without talking about what she's mad at?
Exactly.
I'm saying, how do you do that?
Exactly.
Like, and you're bringing light to some of the situations at hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's being a little vague. You know what I'm saying? He's being a little vague. But who knows if he has more projects coming and more art, you know?
I think there's more on the way. I think there's going to be greater explanation. J. Cole has shown he's very open to conversation. NoName dropped a response. He posted it right away on his page. He's not a big social media guy, like I said. I think he kind of just felt upset, like, yo, I'm not a big social media guy. Like I'm putting out art to pertain to the subject matter. Like, what more can I do? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the person that's supposed to lead. I just want to gain information and follow the great leaders like yourself.
Word.
And like,
salute to NoName, man.
Yeah, salute to NoName. Salute to J. Cole. Salute to Dave, right?
Yeah. Salute to Dave.
Yeah, you were great. Like, you had some really good points. Very enlightening.
Mm-hmm.
Very intelligent person that I'm glad I got to hear a lot from.
And he ain't scary. He ain't scary. He ain't scared to come up here, man.
Very intelligent person for sure. Hopefully we get some more people on here so we got some open conversations about a lot of different subjects on here.
Word.
Any last statements?
Yo, it's been a nice fucking conversation. That's it. Like I just want to say fuck the haters. And
fuck the haters. Fuck all the people that are not with the movement. Fuck all the people that's about oppression.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black trans lives matter.
LGBTQ
all
lives matter. All lives matter.
But we focus on black lives, obviously, but like, lives matter. We're about the support. We're about conquering oppression, yo. That's what we're about. And hopefully this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives, and just get America as great as it can be.
Oh yeah, one more thing.
Yeah.
Fuck the media. Remember the name podcast. Cheer.
Damn, that feels like an hour and a half. Am I being heard?
Possibly.
Yes, you are being heard, sir.